Welcome to the Watchman and welcome to Jerusalem, the one and only holy city. It's the place where God Almighty has written His name. The Bible makes clear throughout that God has chosen Jerusalem as His eternal holy city. It also makes clear that God has chosen Jerusalem as the undivided eternal capital of Israel and the Jewish people. Now, Jerusalem is mentioned hundreds of times throughout the Bible, folks. It is never mentioned in the Quran, not even once. Nevertheless, we have a growing movement today that seeks to deny the Jewish claim to the city of Jerusalem. Some people today say that King David never existed, that the Jewish people never had a presence here in Jerusalem, that the Temple Mount, for instance, a temple never stood there, that Herod's temple, Solomon's temple never stood there. Folks, it sounds crazy if you know your Bible, but this is a growing movement. That's why we think it's really important here at Christians United for Israel to come to where I'm standing right now, the city of David. Now, when you think of Jerusalem, you think of what's behind me right now, inside the old city walls. But ancient Jerusalem, in the time of King David, actually stood outside of those walls. Speaking of King David, to give you an idea of the importance of Jerusalem, King David obviously is the psalmist. Think of Psalm 137, folks, where it says, "If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget its cunning, let my tongue cling to the roof of my mouth. If I forget you, O Jerusalem." Well, I can assure you that the Jewish people have not forgotten Jerusalem. God has not forgotten Jerusalem. And the city of David is the place where it all began for Israel 3,000 years ago.
For a closer look at ancient Jerusalem, we're joined by Zev Orenstein, Director of International Affairs at the City of David Foundation and a master storyteller who brings the Bible to life.
Well, Zev, quite a view here on the overlook at the City of David. Tell us where we are right now and the significance of this place.
Sure. Up until 150 years ago, when people thought, where is the ancient biblical city of Jerusalem? The Jerusalem of David, Solomon, Hezekiah, Jeremiah. Scholar and layperson alike would have said, well, of course it's behind us right here in the old city of Jerusalem. That is biblical Jerusalem. Until the year 1867. 1867, Queen Victoria of England, she wants to discover the treasures of the Bible, the Ark of the Covenant. She says, I'm going to send someone here, an explorer named Captain Charles Warren, here to the Holy Land, to the land of Israel. And if you're going to excavate one place in the Holy Land to find the treasures of the Bible, you're going to come to Jerusalem. And if you're going to excavate one place in Jerusalem, you're going to excavate not where we're standing right now, but what is directly behind us over here, Mount Moriah, the Temple Mount. Charles Warren comes here. 1867, he goes up to the Temple Mount, except in 1867, the Muslims are here, the Ottomans. And they say to Charles Warren, Charles, we're sure you are a swell fellow, but you are not going to dig up the Temple Mount. To this day, there has never been an archaeological excavation on the Temple Mount. He comes up with some other solution. He says, maybe if I can't excavate on the Temple Mount, I will excavate near the Temple Mount. So he comes down the slopes of Mount Moriah, comes down beside us over here to the east, walks through the Kidron Valley. And beneath us, over here in the Kidron Valley, is the ancient Gihon Spring, the life source of Jerusalem, the largest water source in this area. And he sees that the spring is flowing through an ancient man-made tunnel dating back some 2,700 years. Now, he doesn't know it at the time, but this is actually flowing through Hezekiah's water tunnel.
Wow.
Now, he's walking through this pitch black tunnel, carrying a torch. And as he's carrying this torch, at a certain point, the flame of the torch begins to flicker wildly. What's going on? He looks up, he sees there's a shaft going up into the mountainside. He climbs up this shaft, and he comes out in a network of tunnels and fortifications with antiquities dating back thousands of years.
Wow.
And he comes up with a crazy theory, inspired by the Bible. He says in the Bible, David says, 2 Samuel chapter 5, whoever wants to capture the Jerusalem needs to capture the water source. And he says, well, the water's over here. The water's not up in what we know today as the Old City. It must be that ancient biblical Jerusalem is not located inside the walls of the Old City, but is in fact located outside the walls of the Old City. Now in 1867, people think Charles Warren is crazy.
Yeah.
Why? Because when you looked at the city of David 100 plus years ago, there was nothing here. And they said, how could it be that ancient biblical Jerusalem, a place that has significance to Jews, to Christians, to billions of people, is a barren, neglected hillside? And he says, I'm telling you, this is the spot. Over the next 150 years, where we're standing right now, right here in the city of David, this will become the most excavated site in all of Israel. And these excavations have proven beyond a doubt that where we're standing right now is, in fact, the location of ancient biblical Jerusalem.
It's amazing, Zev. Until 1967, all of these ancient biblical sites that are so profoundly important to the Jewish people were not under the control of Israel until after the Six-Day War.
Not only weren't they under the control of Israel, but during the Jordanian occupation of Jerusalem from 1948 to 1967, synagogues were blown up. The Mount of Olives, tens of thousands of graves were destroyed. There was no access to the Western Wall. What we see today, not only in ancient times, but even today with the destruction of antiquities on the Temple Mount, with the destruction of antiquities throughout the region, including in Nablus and Shechem, the tomb of Joseph, which has been destroyed, that if the holy places are not under the control of Israel, which guarantees that people of all faiths and backgrounds will have access to them, then they'll be lost.
Yeah, folks, if Israel does not have control of these sites, you at home, if you're a Christian, you won't be here. You won't be able to stand where I'm standing right now. And believe me, you want to stand here. You also want to stand in the ruins of King David's palace. That's where we're heading next.
Over here. And some people agree with her, this could be the spot. Others say, the pottery, we think it's about 100 years after David. So what's the debate? The debate is not over what this area was. This was the royal government center of the Davidic dynasty. The debate here is over whether King David himself was sitting here or his grandson. Personally, that's not keeping me up at night. But I'll tell you something amazing, where you see how the archaeology today is confirming the biblical truth.
Exactly, the proof that the Jewish people have been here for a long,
Absolutely.
long time. I'm pinching myself, Zev, to be standing here, not only as a man of faith, but just as a student of history. If you're a history buff, the Bible is a great outlier of the history of the Middle East, the history of Israel, and this is a perfect place to come to do it. Well, we're here at the city of David, standing in yet another place of great biblical significance, Hezekiah's Tunnel. Zev, give us a little bit of the history of this amazing spot.
So behind us, Eric, we could hear the actual water flowing from the Gihon Spring. Thousands of years old, flowing into Hezekiah's Tunnel, dating back 2,700 years. And where we're standing right now is a place that allows us in so many different ways to take the archaeology and show that what's written in the Bible is in fact truth. First, we have the story is in the book of Kings, in the book of Isaiah, when Sennacherib comes in the 7th century BCE to besiege Jerusalem.
The Assyrian king.
The Assyrian king, he's already exiled the kingdom of Israel. The 10 lost tribes, they're gone. Now Hezekiah knows that the kingdom of Judah is next. And so he says, as it says in the Bible, why should the Assyrians come and find water? And so what does Hezekiah do? He reroutes the water to flow inside the walls of the city so that when the Assyrians come, they will not find the water. He undergoes an engineering project of 4 years to excavate the tunnel that is behind us, 530 meters. Now, it sounds like an amazing story, except in the late 1800s, an Arab boy finds this inscription in the middle of the tunnel. It's known as the Siloam inscription, and it recounts the two teams of diggers, one from each side of the tunnel, at the moment where they met and they celebrated, saying, "Oh my God, we actually did it." Without GPS, without radars, they were able to engineer a almost 2,000-foot long tunnel.
This is kind of a biblical high five.
Absolutely,
a
biblical high five. Now, what else? The whole story then, what happens? The Assyrians come, Sennacherib comes, besieges Jerusalem. It was the mightiest army of the time. Isaiah comes to Hezekiah. Hezekiah doesn't know what to do, and Isaiah says to him, "By the way they came, so shall they return. Not a single arrow will fall within the walls of Jerusalem." And then the next morning, everyone wakes up, and the Assyrian army has disappeared. Now, it's almost too good to be true, except that in Iraq was discovered this prism, known as Taylor's Prism, which is the account of Sennacherib himself of when he comes to Jerusalem. And it says that he traps Hezekiah like a bird in a cage. And he leaves him there, and he has to go back to Nineveh to deal with political instability. So you have here Sennacherib confirming the biblical account that they came to Jerusalem, but they left Hezekiah and the Jewish people in Jerusalem.
And so amazing that the tunnel is still here and the water is still flowing.
Absolutely, it's still flowing. And to put the cherry on top, the icing on the cake, just 2 months ago, Eric, where we're standing just a few feet from where we are right now, the Dr. Mazar, the archaeologist from the Hebrew University, she discovers this seal. This seal bears the name of a biblical official that you and everyone watching at home right now has for sure heard of. The name on the seal is Hezekiah, son of Ahaz, king of Judah.
The Bible is real, and Jerusalem is really the eternal capital of the Jewish people. And Zev, you're giving us a great history lesson. Much more coming up with Zev Orenstein from the city of David. This is an amazing place, folks, and there's more. So stick around after the break. It's The Watchman, only on TBN. Don't move.
On nearly every border, Israel is surrounded by enemies that seek its destruction. Vicious terror groups like ISIS, Hezbollah, and Hamas are acquiring deadlier and more advanced weapons as Iran moves ever closer to a nuclear bomb. At the UN, the international community shuns Israel. On college campuses, Jewish students are harassed and intimidated. God's chosen people are facing an all-out assault. As a Christian, how will you answer God if you choose to do nothing? It's time for Christians to take a stand. Join CUFI, America's largest pro-Israel organization, where 3 million Christians across the United States are working together to defend Israel in our classrooms, churches, and communities. From college campuses to Capitol Hill, CUFI is making a difference and fighting for Israel. Visit our website, cufi.org, and join the movement for such a time as this.
And welcome back to The Watchman, only right here on TBN. We are in one of the most visited spots in all of Israel, the city of David, a place with great biblical heritage and significance. We're with Zev Orenstein of the city of David, and we're in a place that you may have heard of from your Bible, the Pool of Siloam. Zev, refresh our viewers' memories on what went down here at the Pool of Siloam.
So what happens here, you first have to start the story 2004. There's a sewage pipe behind us, it explodes. The municipality sends in workers, they dig down to get to the pipe to clean up the mess. Happens to be, while this is all going on, an archaeologist named Eli Shukron happens to be walking by. He hears something just doesn't sound right. He runs in, says, "Stop what you're doing," clears everyone out, and they had inadvertently uncovered these ancient steps that we see right over here, thousands of years old, Herodian. And it's clear they're leading down into something. And the archaeologist Eli Shukron and his colleague Roni Reich, they say, wait a minute, there's only one other place in the whole country where we've seen steps like this before, and those are the steps leading up to the ascent to the southern part of the Temple Mount. And they say, wait a minute, there must be a connection. And they realize that these steps were leading down into the ancient Pool of Siloam. So what was the ancient Pool of Siloam? In ancient times, there were 3 pilgrimage festivals, Passover, Pentecost, Tabernacles, when all the Jewish people would have to go up to the Holy Temple that stood on Mount Moriah, on the Temple Mount. But you can't just go up to the temple as is, you have to purify yourself. Josephus, the historian, tells us that up to 1 million Jews would go on pilgrimage to the temple on the pilgrimage festivals. How would all those people purify themselves? They would go into the Pool of Siloam, which we have over here. It was the size of 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools. And I want to throw out a teaser to you, Eric. The archaeologist said, wait a minute, if this is the pool, and we know where Mount Moriah is, where the Temple Mount is, how did all of the people get from point A to point B? And so they widen the excavation, and they find something that will blow your mind. We just came from the Pool of Siloam, and the archaeologist said, if that's the Pool of Siloam, where Josephus says that up to 1 million pilgrims would have been immersing themselves to go up on their journey to the temple, they said, well, how'd they get there? So they widened the excavation. And what they found right behind us is the actual pilgrimage road that led from the Pool of Siloam all the way up to Mount Moriah, to the Temple Mount. This is the road, Eric, where our ancestors, Jews and Christians alike, their ancestors, when they would be on their pilgrimage up to the temple, this is the very road that they walked upon, and it's being excavated as we speak.
Wow, so they purify themselves in the Pool of Siloam, up this pathway. They're at the Holy of Holies at the temple.
That's right.
Wow, amazing.
Where we're standing right now, this is the ancient 2,000-year-old drainage channel beneath the Second Temple Pilgrimage Road. The pilgrimage road is directly above our heads, and we are walking through the drainage channel below, which is going to lead us someplace very special.
Well, coming up, we've taken you to the Pool of Siloam, where worshipers would purify themselves. Then we went up the road of pilgrimage. Now, after the break, we take you someplace very special where it all ends up. You won't want to miss this. Stick around. It's the Watchman. It's Christians United for Israel, only right here on TBN. Don't move.
Iran's rulers promised to destroy my country, murder my people. The response from nearly every one of the governments represented here has been absolutely nothing.
To see evil and not call it evil is evil. Not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act. God will not hold us harmless.
Join America's largest pro-Israel organization, Christians United for Israel, on July 18th and 19th for our annual Washington Summit. You'll meet with your elected officials and hear from experts and leaders, including Pastor John Hagee, Dr. David Jeremiah, Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North, and yours truly, Erick Stakelbeck. To register for CUFI's Washington Summit, call 1-877-706-2834 or visit cufi.org. Enter the promo code WATCHMAN to attend the summit for a special discounted rate of just $75.
And welcome back to the Watchman from the city of David here in Jerusalem. Well, here it is, folks. The big reveal. We took you to the Pool of Siloam. We took you through the road of pilgrimage. Here is where it all ends up. Our good friend Zev Orenstein from the City of David is going to break it down for us. Zev, where are we?
Okay, before I tell you where we are right now.
You're keeping us in suspense.
It's worth it. It's
I
worth
know.
the wait. We've been waiting in Jerusalem
Yes, it is.
thousands of years.
Yeah.
We'll wait a little bit longer. Two discoveries that were made in the drainage channel where we just walked through. First, a small golden bell belonging to someone very important. The Bible tells us that there was a very special person who had special garments, and at the hem of these garments were golden bells. We're talking about the high priest himself. A small golden bell found just where we walked. And another discovery was on a small stone tablet, the earliest engraving of a menorah ever found, right over here. But now for the big reveal. We have over here, what I am touching right now with my hand is bedrock of Mount Moriah, the Temple Mount itself. So these stones right here, these are the very foundation stones of the Western Wall itself. Stones that have not been seen for 2,000 years, only discovered by archaeologists about 4 years ago.
And we are privileged enough to see them, folks. The foundation stones of the Western Wall above us. Zev, this is amazing. When this discovery came, and remind our viewers, first of all, the significance.
So Mount Moriah is the site where the binding of Isaac, the Bible tells us, takes place. It's the spot where David's son Solomon will build the temple. It's destroyed by the Babylonians, rebuilt 70 years later, and ultimately destroyed by the Romans in the year 70. All of this is happening on Mount Moriah, on the Temple Mount. Now the Western Wall is
where God dwelled.
Absolutely, right? Temple Mount, God's
the divine
presence.
presence was in the Temple Mount.
No question.
Jesus taught in the temple.
And here you have the Western Wall, where for centuries, people, particularly the Jewish people, but people of all faiths, have been coming to the Western Wall to pray at this such holy and significant place. Right over here, and we're touching stones that literally for thousands of years have not been touched, have not been seen. And today you can see between the cracks the prayers of people from all over the world. They come to Jerusalem to pray.
Amazing. You know, only 4 years ago, Zev, 2,000 years, these were hidden from the world. We're seeing them now right here on the Watchman. We know about the Western Wall, obviously, up top, but these foundation stones, no one knew about them. And you want to see the history of the Jewish people, you come to the City of David, you get together with Zev Orenstein, and Zev, my Hebrew is not that great, but may I be so bold as to say, Am Yisrael Kai, the people of Israel live. Some final thoughts from the City of David, Mount Moriah, the Western Wall foundation stone. Amazing, folks. Some final thoughts here on The Watchman after the break. Stick around.
Centuries-old churches and monasteries burnt to the ground, Christian villages ransacked, women and children enslaved, and believers in Jesus led to their deaths. ISIS has declared an all-out war on Christians. Believers in the Middle East outside of Israel are suffering horrible persecution. Christians united for Israel will not remain silent as Islamic extremists carry out a genocide against our brothers and sisters in Christ. On Capitol Hill, CUFI is working hard to ensure America's allies receive the aid they need to defeat ISIS. CUFI is leading a Raise Your Voice campaign to bring the issue front and center for Christians across America. Visit our website, cufi.org, to find out how you can stand with CUFI as we stand up for the persecuted church. If not us, who? And if not now, when?